Hello dear students, in this video we are going to study stanza 3rd and stanza 4th of the poem Sailing to Byzantium composed by W.B. Yeats. In stanza 1st and in stanza 2nd we have discussed about the effects of Byzantium art on W.B. Yeats, and in this stanza 3 the poet now is appealing to the sages who is standing in God's holy fire. So the opening lines of third stanza is on your screen. O sages standing in God's holy fire, as in the gold mosaic of a wall, come from the holy fire, burn in a gyre, and be the singing masters of my soul. Now in these lines the poet is appealing to the sages, and this stanza begins with an invocation like O sages. So the poet requests the sages who are believed to stand in God's holy fire and who have thus been purged of the last relics of sensuality. These sages look like the figures represented in the gold mosaic of a wall. Now, in line 3, the poet is again addressing the sages and beginning with the line, Come from the holy fire, burn in gyre, and be the singing masters of my soul. The poet wants them to come out of the holy fire and to fall upon him with a hawk like movement. He wants them to become the singing masters of his soul and to purify his heart. So these are old men in Byzantium too. They are the sages standing in God's holy fire, and to them the speaker appeals. He begs them to rise from their holy fire like immortal phoenixes and become a source of inspiration to him. When we discuss line number 2 of this stanza, that is, as in the gold mosaic of wall, this is similar to the figures represented in the gold mosaic of a wall. The word mosaic refers to the artistic pattern that is formed by placing together precious stones of various colors. Various shapes and figures can be depicted through such a combination of precious stone. So, in this stanza, the poet is begging the sages the sages who are believed to stand in God's holy fire, and he is comparing those sages to the Byzantium art like a gold mosaic, and he is again convincing them to come from the holy fire like a descending method in a rapid whirling movement like that of a hawk descending upon its prey. So he is praying those sages that you take me to a state like a hawk fall upon its prey. Now in the fifth line he is saying that consume my heart away, sick with desire, and fasten to a dying animal. It knows not what it is, and gather me into the artifice of eternity. Now notice, students, you should notice that dying animal here is a reference to the body, human body, that is mortal. And in these lines he wants them to teach him to listen to spiritual music as distinguished from the sensual music. The poet has yet not been able to get rid of his sensual desires, which still stick to him. In fact, he is an aged man on the verge of death, and he is unable to understand his own reality. So he is requesting those sages, and he is saying that only those sages can purge his heart, can purify his heart of all impurities, and give him the permanence which great objects of art possess. So in these lines, that consume my heart away sick with desire, and fasten to a dying animal, it knows not what it is. These lines have the meaning that his heart, he says, is a tied to a dying body, and doesn't know and doesn't understand its own reality. So in the last line of this stanza, that gather me into the artifice of eternity. In these two lines, the poet wants to get rid of all sensual desires, would like to be transformed into some object of art. He want to be a part of the object of art having an eternal value, because objects of art has eternal value. The poet leave all allegiance to nature and commits himself entirely to the guardianship of the sages, and he is uh, comprehending that the sages are the whole and soul singing masters of his soul. So this third stanza is an invocation to the sages who are believed to standing in God's holy fire. Now in last and fourth stanza of this poem, once out of nature I shall never take my bodily form from any natural thing, but such a form as Grecian goldsmiths make of hammered gold and gold enameling to keep a drowsy emperor awake, or set upon a golden bow to sing to lords and ladies of Byzantium of what is past or passing or to come. So, in this fourth stanza, the poet is totally signifying the importance of Greek Byzantium art. Once he has quit his earthly body, now in this stanza he is wants to communicate to the readers that once he has quitted his earthly body, he would not like to be reborn in the same or any other earthly shape. He will reject all physical incarnations. He will reject all physical birth on this earth. That's why he is saying that once out of nature. Here it means that once he will get rid of this mortal body, I shall never take my bodily form from any natural thing. So he wants to say that once I will quit this earthly body, once I will shun this earthly body, I would not like to be reborn in the same or in any other earthly shape. He will reject all physical incarnation, because all living beings are subject to mortality and death, and the poet don't want to circulate or recycle in this birth and death reincarnation cycle. He would like to become something eternal and imperishable. He would take the now in the next lines he is saying that, but such a form as Grecian goldsmiths make of hammered gold and gold enameling to keep a drowsy emperor awake. Here he is mentioning the works of Grecian goldsmith, and he is saying that I would like to take the shape of golden bird, the kind of bird which Grecian goldsmiths are believed to have designed for the pleasure of an emperor. As a golden bird, a work of art. He wanted to become a golden bird made by Grecian goldsmiths to make the emperor pleasurable. And in the last three lines, he is saying that, or sat upon a golden bow to sing to lords and ladies of Byzantium of what is past or passing or to come. So, in these lines, he is saying that as a golden bird, a work of art, he would be beyond decay or death, and would therefore be unlike the dying generations of the real birds. As a golden bird, he will be placed on a golden bow and he will appear to be singing songs of all times, like the times of past, the time of present, and the time of future, to an audience of the lords and ladies of Byzantium. His song, when he becomes a golden bird, will be that of spiritual ecstasy, and he will be surrounded not by the young lovers and other animal creatures of the sexual cycle, but by an audience that is elegant and abstract. That's why he is praising the lord and ladies of Byzantium. In Byzantium, he will have no age, no past, no present, and no future, because these times are all one there. The bird is an artifact, an object of art, such as Grecian goldsmith designed in order to keep a drowsy emperor awake. So, in this stanza and in this concluding stanza, W.B. Yeats wants to convey a message that object of art is always permanent, and he is um, signifying Byzantium art, and this poem strongly influenced the thinking and feelings of a good many readers. It has at the least sharpened their sense of seriousness and reality of the motivations of creative mind. It is a poem of the sort which redirect our attention to the basic choices of our lives and to the way in which these choices affect our long range perspectives. It offers indisputable proof of the power of a poetic symbol to create relationships and meanings around itself, relationships and meanings which depend on nothing else but the intensity and depth with which the symbol is conceived. So that's all about this poem. Thank you all.